All right, well, that's more like it. Lightning grind out a physical 2-0 win over the Utah Mammoth. How did they get it done? We'll talk about it on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day every single day. We are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. As always, we want to give a shout out to our everydayers, those of you who tune into every single show, every single day. We love you. Appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I'm joined by the Doc Brown to my Marty McFly, Greg Stephen. Greg, welcome in, buddy. Welcome back.
Thanks. Good morning. Good morning. That was a fun game to watch last night, let me tell you.
Yeah, especially if you're not necessarily a fan of either team and you just like some good physical old-timey hockey.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's so many things to talk about in this game, but yeah, it was definitely rougher than I anticipated and really exciting. I think every moment I was kind of like, wow, there's just so much going on here.
Yeah, strangely physical game between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
A lot to get to about this recap in a second, including, let's just go ahead and say it. It was Andrei Vasilevskiy's game, 42nd career shutout, a lot of big saves down the stretch. We'll talk about his performance. Plus, hey, 2 goals on the power play, including one from Brandon Hagel that capped off a very weird game for number 38. A lot to get to in this game. So let's dive right into it. For the too long didn't read recap, for those of you who weren't able to see it or weren't able to see any of last night's game. And if you're watching us on YouTube and you see the scoreboard, that's pretty much the extent of it. Yeah. In terms of scoring, Darren Raddysh, second period power play goal, good one-time feed from Nikita Kucherov. And Greg, it's just, I feel like this play encapsulates why the power play is working so well right now. Just the good setup by Nikita Kucherov to get his players into a position where they can make a play, and just an absolute rocket of a slapper from Darren Raddysh, who has now passed his career high in points.
He has. And this was such a good goal. So many of they actually set this play up like 4 or 5 times, and he just kept ripping them. And eventually he found a little spot in the left, and it just went in. It was a good play.
Yeah. A lot to talk to in kind of the middle here, but basically everything under the sun, it feels like, happened in this game. There's a couple of, I would say, controversial hits that could possibly get the eye of NHL player safety at some point. We had a great interaction between Declan Carlile and Sean Durzi that's going viral this morning. And, you know, I want to talk about that play coming up in a little bit. And one of the biggest things was just I would say the nonsense of Lightning players trying to score a goal in this game, including Brandon Hagel. Just all kinds of chaos, you know, left and right, going on from everywhere. And then finally, the goal. Finally, with 30 seconds left on the power play, another mad scramble in front of the net, Greg.
Yeah, really good passing play, though, at the same time. Just beautiful, honestly. I've watched it back 4 or 5 times. Just such magic, you know. And you know where it goes through? Nikita Kucherov, the passing god.
Yeah. It looked like Brandon Hagel scored the goal. For some reason, NHL still has it listed as Anthony Cirelli on the official scoring. I don't know. Anyway, one of those two scored the goal. That kind of encapsulates Brandon Hagel's weird night, just weird puck luck anywhere. He's certainly, I think, scored that last goal. It's still listed as Anthony Cirelli.
Yeah, I wonder if it crossed the line right as he touched the puck or something. But yeah, it definitely looked like a Hagel goal for me.
I'm with you there. But whoever scored it, 2-0 win over the Utah Mammoth. 2 power play goals in this one for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Certainly, I think not the perfect game, but I think if you're certainly comparing it to the game against Columbus the other night, Greg, I would say a lot to like here if you're a Tampa Bay Lightning fan.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton to like. And I mean, I might as well just transition right into the plus minus.
Why don't you go for it? Yeah.
I mean, the plus has to be Andrei Vasilevskiy.
Absolutely.
I mean, guy has been on fire, and he looks like he is in playoff mode. He's just stopping everything. He's just sharp, and yeah, I mean, 28 shots on goal, no goals allowed. That's a tremendous feat.
Yeah, and he's my plus too. There's no point in finding anybody else. Yeah, to me, Vazzy stole this game. And look, you know, I also want to give maybe a little bit of a plus B. Like there's Vasilevskiy's the plus A, and there's a plus B to Carl Vejmelka on the other side for the Utah Mammoth, because I think in the same vein, he made a lot of really good saves. We talk about puck luck for the Tampa Bay Lightning in this game. There's a lot of just shots off the post, a lot of, you know, empty nets, wide open nets, just kind of whiffed on. But I also don't want, including the Nikita Kucherov miss the empty net at the end.
Yeah.
My God.
That's so true.
You'll never see Nikita Kucherov miss that. But no, look, the Lightning missed, I think, a lot of chances in this game, but I also don't want that to undersell the fact that Carl Vejmelka also made some really good saves for the Utah Mammoth. But back to Vazzy here. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of the classic Vazzy eraser game. You know, you're running into a hot goaltender if you're the Tampa Bay Lightning. They're throwing just as much at your end as you are in them. I think this was a very evenly matched game. And it winds up being the difference maker is having a goalie like Andrei Vasilevskiy, the guy that can win those goaltending battles. And you said you thought Vazzy's in playoff mode. This is kind of what playoff mode is for a goaltender and how teams separate themselves in like kind of the Stanley Cup contendership. It's having that goaltender like Andrei Vasilevskiy who can pull your team through these close games. And I think that's exactly what he did last night. This is exactly kind of a playoff type win where it's so evenly matched. Things are maybe just missing by inches on either side. And you have a goaltender that's willing to step up and make more plays than the other hot goaltender. That's what we saw last night for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Absolutely. And I've said this before, you know, you win playoff games through goaltending. And that's exactly why I said what I said, because Vasilevskiy locked in, man. And nothing was going through. Like you said, Vejmelka played a great game as well. But Vasilevskiy, he's seriously lucky. He's the best goalie in the league. I'm just going to say it outright. And he's climbing the stat leaderboard too in goaltending. So, you know, he looks better than he's looked in the last couple of years, I think, in my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I want to say third now in save percentage in the NHL. I'll have to double check that. Don't quote me on that, but I know he's very high up on there.
I'll take a look for you right now.
There you go. Well, hey, while we're Googling this, Greg, how about laying on a minus from this game?
I would give the minus to Brandon Hagel because, and it's funny because I actually thought he played pretty well, but he just had such a weird game, man. Like the puck was just bouncing off his stick. He was getting some great spots, and then just it just couldn't convert. And then, you know, then this goal that we were just talking about happens, and you think, oh, Brandon Hagel, you know, after all these struggles he had this game, he kind of notched one in, and then it kind of goes to Anthony Cirelli. And you're like, oh, wow, well, that just kind of caps off this weird game from Brandon Hagel.
It really is. Like, it was just like it clearly a goal for him. Doesn't get it. Just bad luck in this one. Yeah, like my minus kind of going into before the discussion went that way was going to be the puck luck. But I'm just going to go, how about more Lightning hits to the head? Did you see the play that happened on Declan Carlile? I can't remember who it was. I believe it might have been Ian Cole.
I think you're right.
But it was coming in high. His stick was in the air and just
almost like a flag.
Yeah, like clearly elbow is right to the side of Declan Carlile's head. Nothing called. And look, we had the same thing like just days ago. And no, it was different, but it was the board on Eric Chernak. And look, Chernak wound up playing last night. And I know that was kind of the question mark going into the game. So that one's a little bit better, but it was also, that's another hit that probably should have been called.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Something at least just for the optics of it.
Yeah, of course. And they show the replay of that too, and the ref is just staring right at it. So obviously he thought nothing was wrong there, but head snaps back. I'm looking at this play like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, that hit on Chernak too. I was actually shocked to see him back as fast as he was, but I'm happy he is, obviously.
Yeah. Oh, and I loved right after that, not too long ago, not Ian Cole, but Nick Paul jumping in and just dropping the gloves on Cole. And I believe that was a rough hit on Dominic James.
It was. Too, so. Absolutely. And he's standing up for the young guy, man. I love that.
Yep. Shout out to Nick Paul. More on the other Declan Carlile moment coming up here in a little bit, because there's a moment between him and Sean Durzi that's going viral in this game. And then, a lot more to talk about, including another breakdown of the power play, special teams in general coming in huge for this game. A lot more to get to from last night's recap. So join us when we come back on Locked on Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like being near the ice during hockey season. Nothing beats the Boy Aquarium, folks. The speed, the hits, the atmosphere, it's unmatched. And watching at home is awesome. But let's face it, being in the building is a completely different experience. The only thing that can actually stand in your way, the nightmare of buying tickets online. We're talking about long queues, endless screens, and prices that change right before you hit checkout. That is why you need the Game Time app. It's the ticketing app that gives advantage back to fans. It is the hack for unlocking amazing NHL tickets and experiences in just a few simple taps. I love using the Game Time app for anything. Whether it's I want to go to a concert, a comedy show, a theater performance, or hockey game, basketball game, baseball, any sort of sporting event, all I do is pull up Game Time to see what events are happening near me. It's incredibly easy to use. One of the best things I love is seeing the view from my seat before I'm buying. So if I know where I want to sit, I can just see the available seats, click on the available button or whatever you call the empty seats on there. And I can see the exact view of the venue from that seat, so I know what I'm getting into before I buy. So I'm not stuck behind any big poles or weird sight line vision things. You're also going to want to check out the zone deals. They're clutch. You choose the section you want to sit in, and Game Time picks the best seats for you at the best deal, saving you even more. Plus, the coolest thing is that fees are always included up front. So the price you see is the price you pay. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. We're back on Locked on Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen. And Greg, I want to talk about special teams because for me, this played a huge role in the Lightning's win last night. 2 for 4 on the power play for the Bolts, both goals from this game. We talked about that setup from Darren Raddysh, that Anthony Cirelli / Brandon Hagel goal at the end was also on the power play. But the penalty kill also deserves some love here, Greg, because the Utah Mammoth had a couple of chances in this game down the stretch. And I thought the Tampa Bay Lightning did a great job, especially late, of closing that door, made a couple of big plays with that third period penalty against Zemgus Girgensons.
They did. And 0 for 3 on the power play for the Mammoth. So that just shows you Lightning are locked in on the penalty kill. They've been a penalty killing team for a few years now, but this year, I think you actually noted it like last week in the stats when we were talking about them. They're just climbing the board. And unbelievable special teams. Like you said, the power play 2 for 4 looked really good. Really did. A lot of puck movement, a lot of shots, and it just looks so sharp. Cooch looks like he's locked in. Raddysh on the point, man. I hope he stays there. I know Hedman's going to probably come back and all that stuff, but do you really even mess with it at this point? I mean, I think Raddysh looks so good up there. He moves the puck well. He's so used to Kucherov on that wall now. And that whole Cooch to Raddysh one-timer now, I love it. It reminds me of the Bouchard bomb up in Edmonton.
Yeah, it's a little bit different of a look than, let's say, when Victor Hedman was there.
Right.
Because Darren Raddysh, I think, has that shot, just that big booming slap shot. I think he's got a really good one-timer. And that is something that I'm trying to remember. Greg, feel free to chime in if you have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Really the best time a Lightning blue liner has had a shot like that, because the mainstay of the power play for years, the person who had that shot was Steven Stamkos.
Yes.
And so I feel like Victor Hedman, as sort of the setup guy, it was easy to find Steven Stamkos because everybody on the ice was trying to find Stamkos for that shot. I would say from that position, that shot, the most automatic person not named Alex Ovechkin of this generation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I feel like since Stamkos left, there has been, and maybe this is kind of where some of the power play issues have come maybe into question a little bit, is they haven't had just that rocket of a shot.
Yeah.
Cooch can shoot it, but he's also a great setup man. Victor Hedman, I would say, also has, a nice booming slap shot, but it's not like that just killer bullseye dead-eye aim. He's also kind of more the quarterback, the setup guy. And so is it as simple as Darren Raddysh having a shot like that? Is this what the Lightning power play have kind of been missing?
You know what? I like that you kind of brought up the Stamkos. They need the shot on that side because he scored from that side. And all it took was kind of for them to, pass the puck around a bit, take a few opportunities at the goal, and then he kind of shifts himself that way. And you saw that on this first goal. He kind of shifts himself gradually to that side, and once Cooch sees that and he sets him up, he ripped that in. And you're right. I think that's a deadly threat on that side now. And teams are going to have to watch out for it. But like you said, Hedman, he has a booming slap shot, misses the net a ton. And that's the one thing I think Raddysh does have an edge on him here. Like you said, Hedman's more of a playmaking guy, but I think Hedman misses the net often. And Raddysh, he's hitting the net frequently, and his shot is accurate. And I think he's now developed the chemistry and the confidence, mind you, with Kucherov and just that whole power play unit. I think I like it. I like it a lot. I like that he does the shift to the left, and I like that they kind of, like you said, Kucherov can shoot the puck. Absolutely. There's no question about that. But I think he'd prefer to pass the puck, and he is a play developer, and he sees what's going on the ice. And if Raddysh gets to where he needs to be, I think Cooch will always set him up for that one-timer, and assuming he maintains the momentum that he's been on, that has continued for 2 or 3 months now, he's going to keep scoring goals.
Yeah. You brought up confidence, and I think that is sort of an underrated part of not just, the power play, but I think why Darren Raddysh's game has been taken off.
Agreed.
Is because for the first time in as long as I can remember Darren Raddysh, he hasn't necessarily had to be on that bubble. He's not like the 5th or 6th guy on the team, other than when he's just kind of filling in here and there for injuries. It really does feel like he's gotten to a point in which John Cooper's, grabbed him by the collar and said, "Play your game, young man.
Yeah.
Go out there and play your game." And this has unlocked the best possible version of Darren Raddysh, I think.
100%.
And obviously,
it's not close.
No, he has career highs and everything. He's up to 40. I think it was 45 points in 46 games, or maybe I moved the stat line to look at something else. But he's obviously just crushed all his career numbers. He's crushed expectations for this year. Greg, I want to go back to the penalty kill because we talked about the penalty kill last week and how much of a weapon it's been for Tampa Bay this year.
Yeah.
Update, they're now second in the NHL. They leapfrogged Colorado by going 0 for 3 last night, only behind Chicago at this point. Greg, why has the penalty kill been so good for the past couple of years now?
Well, first of all, Anthony Cirelli and Brandon Hagel, two unbelievable penalty killers. I think those two alone make your penalty kill better than most teams in the league. But then, when they're not able or they're tired, you got Yanni Gord, you got Girgensons, and I think they do it just as an effective job. Maybe not quite as good as Hagel and Cirelli, but they are just such disruptors in the neutral zone, and they play so physically, and they give a lot of speed and attack on their shifts. And it makes it really hard for teams just to even enter the zone. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's a huge part of this. You see a lot of the time Hagel and Cirelli, they can read these passes. They read the passes really, really well. So they can get a freehand loose stick on a lane and bam, they're going the other way. And we see it all the time. And I think those four guys specifically have really been a highlight of this penalty kill. Mm-hmm. That's not to take away anything from the defense that's out there, but I think it really is a lot more about the forwards that the Lightning play to find their success on the PK.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that the forwards are getting some credit for sort of this defensive turnaround. We talked about the defensive turnaround last week, and somebody left a comment on YouTube page, and it's like one of the biggest things is that the forwards are really come back and being aggressive with their checking. They're forechecking better. They're getting they're faster to get back on the back check, and they're being a little bit more aggressive in terms of defending in their own end. And I think you see that on the penalty kill as well. They set up, they're responsible, but they also aren't afraid to have those guys like Cirelli, like Hagel, go out there and try to push the issue a little bit and make the other team get a play. And we've seen that penalty kill force teams into a lot of mistakes. Just bad passes, maybe ill-advised, puck bounces off. Maybe they get in a position where they have to kind of do a dump and chase or, just kind of throw it in the corner and hope somebody can go and retrieve the puck. They're making it very difficult for the other team, but I think that's very strong insight into the forwards having a big role in this, Greg.
Yeah, you're right. With the aggression that you're talking about, you got to take the game to the other team. It's like a Daniel Cormier line from the UFC. He says, "Pressure fighters make championship fighters," and you got to put the pressure on if you want to, cause your opponent to slip up or remain under pressure and not play their game. And that's exactly how they play the penalty kill. I think it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I say this all the time, but I think the best teams in the NHL are ones that can kind of figure out how to control play and get other teams to play their game.
Exactly.
And I think the penalty kill is kind of an asset like that. They're forcing teams into situations or rushing them into moves that they necessarily don't want to make. I think that's huge.
Agree.
More from this game coming up here in just a little bit, including viral moment from this game between Sean Durzi and Declan Carlile. My question is, did Declan Carlile actually deserve a little bit of venom from this one? We'll dive into that when we come back in just 1 second. Today's episode is brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think, there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades that you can make to your business. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, because it's the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. I love how simple Quo makes everything. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing ever gets missed. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal, and it works right from your phone or computer. No need to get a different number. You can do it all from your existing number. Plus, Quo's smart AI tools automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps, so details never slip through the cracks. That's why it's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams. So make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnhl. Again, that is quo.com/lockedonnhl. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Back here on Locked On Lightning, Nick Morgan alongside Greg Steven. Greg, let's talk about a moment going a little bit viral on this game. Moment that's going viral. Excuse me. Sean Durzi from Utah in the penalty box, a little bit bloodied, going over, and I don't know, Greg. I'm not a lip reader. Seemed to be screaming, "Love you."
Yeah.
Multiple times at Declan Carlile in the box. It was not "love you," folks. It was another blank you. I'm sure you can figure their blanks. So here's how it all started, Greg. And the more I'm watching this, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, Declan Carlile, look what he did. He's not stepping up, blah, blah, blah." Watch the play. Andrei Vasilevskiy has the puck.
Mm-hmm.
And in comes Sean Durzi, who, after the whistle, still has his stick trying to jam up under the blocker of VASY. I mean, he's like leaning into it too. So Declan Carlile grabs him around the head, kind of drags him down, pushes him down, everything like that. Those two go at it. Sean Durzi irate in the box. My question for Sean Durzi here, and maybe you too, Greg, why?
Well, it's also just like, what did you expect was going to happen from this? Like,
that's exactly, I think, my takeaway too. It's like, what did you expect?
Yeah. I just want to take one comment. I am shocked that they left the camera on Durzi as long as they did.
For that long. It was like a 10-second clip.
Yeah. And he was very clearly repeating the same phrase that is not difficult to lip read. And I just thought that was so silly. I was watching it like, they're going to let this keep going on. But yeah, like you said, I mean, Durzi's digging in there, and this is the NHL. They're going to protect their goaltender, and that's exactly what happened here in my eyes. And like you said, if you're Durzi, like, what are you whining about? I don't really know. Does he want to fight or just throw hands, like, officially? Like, I don't really know what he's looking for here, to be honest with you. But yeah, bizarre. I don't think I've seen a guy that angry in a while either. Like, he was really mad. Yeah, I wonder if Carlile maybe said something out of pocket that triggered that.
I mean, Durzi was bloodied.
Yeah,
like he was bloody. Like, it seems like maybe part of the headlock maybe caused a cut or something like that. But again, like, what do you
get your stick out of the goaltender?
Yeah, exactly.
What a weird segment, honestly. But I entertaining though. Entertaining.
Yeah, I don't know what you expect from that. But it was part of what was a physical game. Greg. A lot of hits, a lot of, a couple of big fights, a big scrum at the end. And ultimately, I'll just throw this out there too. I feel like that extra energy, that extra sort of venom, I guess you would call it.
Sure.
I would say maybe directly led to the sequence that led to the last Lightning goal, because it was Lawson Krause that just took a big swing at Darren Raddysh and hit him in the head. Clearly a rough, clearly a stupid penalty. And guess what? That led to the power play that kept Utah from being able to get an extra man on the ice and led to the game-winning and led to the 2-0 power play goal that put it away.
Yeah, the Lightning play really well in these kind of games with the physicality and the grit and the violence, if you will. Yeah. they have so many emotional guys, and I think that plays a big role in that. Like Hagel and Kucherov, we know how emotional those guys are, right? Like we see it all
Yeah.
the time. And and guys that are really gritty, like Yanni Gord, he's not afraid to mix it up. And we saw Nick Paul do it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that was just for a young guy that got, kind of tossed around. So yeah, Lightning play really, really effectively when these kind of games come to fruition. And this was one of them, man. I think, VASY stepped up, and then you also had everyone on the team just kind of saying, nah, we're not going to sit here and let this happen. And entertaining game. Loved it.
And it's funny because I don't really remember the Lightning doing that the past couple of years.
Right.
Like it always seems like whenever it was like, a player would get hurt or something like that, it's like, look what Florida did, man. Like this year seems to be the year that it's like there's zero hesitation.
Yeah.
Like there's zero planning. It's just, we saw with Jake Gensel earlier this year, he got hit in the head, just turns around and drops the gloves with somebody literally almost a full foot taller than him.
That was against Florida, right?
Yeah. We saw, we saw it again yesterday, like no hesitation from Nick Paul to just jump in and drop gloves with Ian Cole, who's a pretty tough guy. We saw at the end, players just able to rush in and not afraid to fight for their teammates. I love it. And
me too.
like I said, I don't remember the Lightning necessarily always doing that the past couple of years. Obviously they've had guys that can fight. They've had some feisty, people. They've had some good veterans who are able to stick up for their teammates, but I don't remember just the extent of kind of everybody at any given time being willing to jump in and I guess sort of deliver a counterpunch.
Agreed. Yeah. I think after the departures of Maroon and like Perry, that whole element kind of deflated from the team gradually, I think. And yeah, interesting to see it back right now because the roster hasn't changed any, significantly by any means. And they haven't really acquired anyone that, has that whole vibe, but it's good. It's good that you see all these playmakers that are doing this now. And this is what they need, man. This is how you win against Florida. This is how you win. This is how you win in the playoffs in general, and great to see it, I think, on full display last night. It's really encouraging for me.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people, and I know that a lot of people think maybe fighting physicality may be a little bit overrated in the NHL, but I do think that stuff like that, when you see teammates immediately ready to drop the gloves and go at it, especially in support of another teammate, that is the sign of a close team. And that is a sign of a team that in the locker room, they're together and they have something going there. And so I do think that is a little peek into the dynamic of the Lightning this season. They're close. They're willing to step up for each other. And quite frankly, I think they're fed up with, kind of being the team that gets pushed around a little bit physically. I think they're ready to come back and sort of prove that, hey, we want to be sort of that pesky presence that we were a few years ago when we were just on it in the Stanley Cup.
Completely agree with you. And you got to. I think that's the only way you get matched with Florida again. You're going to need it. So you might as well start now.
Yeah. More big weeks, another big week ahead for the Lightning coming up. They have a game against the Winnipeg Jets on Thursday, and then we're counting down until Saturday. The Stadium Series against the Boston Bruins, which will be a big game in the standings. So a lot to play for other than just bragging rights in this one. Big week ahead for the Lightning. Of course, we will be here every step of the way. We'll be back with an all-new episode tomorrow and plenty of cool content leading up to the game this weekend. For those of you watching us on YouTube, or whether you're listening in on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Not only helps us out with our numbers, but it lets you guys know when we have brand new content available for you. Also, be sure to keep an eye on our social media, Locked on Lightning, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much wherever we scroll, we're on there. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked on Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. New episode coming at you tomorrow. We'll see you then.